Actually, I haven't heard anybody talk about it like that before. So this is kind of something that's very unique to you and what you're teaching. So So what is the difference between natural and normal, and how we've been taught the two?
I know I've thrown those terms out, natural versus normal awareness. I think for myself, I noticed that when we are born, you automatically, for most of us, we enter into the curriculum of normal learning. And we enter this curriculum. I mean, you start to walk, you have parents that do the best they can to feed you all the data about the best way to get on in the world, the best way to survive, to minimize the suffering and maximize the bliss. I'm sure you remember those days, and they're there. They're either there or somebody else is there. Then it usually then expands to maybe the first person was your teacher. And it goes beyond that. And your friends, you start to get out into the world and you get fed a lot of data. I call it normal data. And the normal data is basically what everybody is doing. In fact, I remember as a little boy, I never felt normal. And I'd venture to say that anybody watching this, there's probably times, especially when you were young, you were fed information and it somehow didn't feel normal, didn't feel right. But yet what you got was contrary to your spiritual understanding of how it really is down here. I remember being told little boys aren't supposed to cry. That's sissy. And little girls are supposed to do this. I mean, got that at a very young age. That's part of that 98% programming that goes down the chute into the subconscious that then can start to run the show many, many years later on in life. That's normal. In fact, I was told, honey, that's normal. That's something to be proud of. Now you're normal. So it's a way of fitting in. It's a way of surviving. It's a way of understanding the rules of how things work down here. And here's the messy part. It can actually be mingled with stuff that is pretty spiritual. So, how do you pluck out that? So when I teach it, I also talk about natural. Now, what is natural? Natural from nature. Now, if you look at a tree out here, the tree is just treeing. If you look at the dirt, it's just dirting. I mean, the air just airing. There's not efforting to do what it does naturally. There's no effort to it. Becoming normal, there tends to be some efforting to it because you're trying to adapt an unlimited essence of spirit to a category that is through consensus says we all must do this. Now, you've noticed there was a time that people literally thought that it was normal to only sail the ship so far because you're going to fall off the edge of the world because it's flat. Everybody knows that. The world is flat. Then that was normal. It was not normal for a guy to come along and say, I'm going to prove you otherwise. It's really round and I'm going to go, in fact, I'm going to sail beyond to where you say I'm going to fall off and I'll show it to you. Now, that guy we all know probably had some feeling. He probably had some doubt as he took his own leap of faith. But what he did is he shifted it by bringing in information that proved that the normal now needed to update the software. And now we all know it's normal that the world is round. But before it was natural, it was normal. So the normal and the natural are just two basic terms that I utilize in the program for people to understand that when you're acting natural, there's no effort to it. Your intuition becomes a part of your mental, it becomes a part of your emotional, it becomes a part of your physical makeup. It becomes the, quote, sixth sense to follow the guiding light. That lighthouse during a turbulent storm, you just go, of course, it's just natural. This life comes at me, it's unpredictable. I'm down here on this planet where all kinds of uncertain things come at me. So it's natural to not know why they're doing it, but it is natural to follow my spiritual inclination that this makes me grow back into why I came here to begin with, to reunite with my own spirit. Now, a lot of people that we admire, a lot of prophets or political heroes that we admire, were considered normal. I call them natural. And many of them came back at risk of their life, and some of them we've burned, we've hung them on a cross. We did some really nasty stuff to people who came back just to say, look, there's a more natural way of existing down here. And this is how I'm going to show you. I'll show you. I'll do it first. But because of the normal way of looking at these things back in that culture, back in that time, if a person walked down a path and you got the sense that you could also walk down that path, to many it would stimulate tremendous amount of fear. And thank God we live at a time where at least we don't take our prophets and hang them on a cross anymore. Now we just put them on the page of National Enquirer, CNN, and do other things to them. But just understand, if somebody says you're not acting normal, it just might be a compliment.